All right, welcome to News Talk. I'm Brandon Jones and Robert Harriman. We will discuss some more of the meltdown that we see in the streets and some of the cancel culture stuff this week. We've talked about all sorts of things in the past.
What's going on now?
Now we have food. Last time you had Uncle Ben's, man.
It's been a while.
Has it? I don't know the Lord. We've done keto, so we're kind of out of the rice and those kinds of things. Aunt Jemima. Mrs. Butterworth, they're all on the way out, man.
Well, yeah, they're all in the fridge.
Land O'Lakes butter was first. Actually, that was kind of before some of the chaos. They took the Indian off our butter.
So this kind of follows in the same steps of sports teams.
Yes, which has not come back up again. Because I have that famous meme that I always loved about the Washington Redskins that I could agree that we should change the name from Washington Redskins, whether you decide to do Maryland Redskins or the Virginia Redskins, because I find Washington to be very, very offensive. Yes. So I have not heard this movement.
You're tearing statues down too?
No, not statues, just the cities. No, sorry. So yeah, we have triggered companies. Uncle Ben's has been around since 1946. And it was basically a marketing decision. There's some folks you can tons of stuff online. But the famous Uncle Ben image is based on a Chicago maitre d' named Frank Brown. It's a real person, and it is kind of become the face of it. Frank Brown was the face of this kind of thing. Now, Aunt Jemima is a little bit of a different story. So you have more of a marketing thing, and what they had done was the very first Aunt Jemima that was used in all the advertising. Her name was Nancy Green. She actually was a former slave. So Aunt Jemima has a little bit more of a complicated history. People talk about, well, the whites are the one that came up with the ingredients and blah, blah, blah. Had nothing to do with slavery. Then other people are like, well, no, she was a slave. Well, okay, so the lady that was hired to be the model, Nancy Green, she portrayed Aunt Jemima from 1893 until her death from 1923 for 30 years. I actually was just shocked by the timeline of that. 1893. Man, that's been around a long time. It was well written. It was well written that to promote the idea of Aunt Jemima as a real cook, made the best pancakes in the South, but it was more of a promotional material. Mrs. Butterworth is another one that's on the chopping block, as well as Rastus, which I didn't know he had a name, but Rastus has a name on the cream of wheat.
Oh.
Cream of wheat has been around since 1890. Emery Mapes, I guess is how you say that, owner of the North Dakota Diamond Milling Company. And then this whole thing, they came up with a breakfast porridge, I guess to feed people. And let's see here, the cream of wheat came out. The logo was used until the 20s, and then of course Frank L. White, the Chicago chef, paid $5 to pose with the chef's hat and jacket.
Okay.
Frank's off our pop culture trademarks and food representation. I mentioned the Indian on the logo at Land O'Lakes. Obviously, you've heard about some of the other things we talked about. Sports teams. The most recent sports team. I don't know if you heard about this. University of Virginia.
Cavaliers?
It is the Cavaliers. You know about their logo? They have these two sabers that are crossed like this. The handles have ridges and don't have ridges. Makes a difference, evidently, with what is offensive and representative of the oppressed era and what is not. Okay.
You're going over my head. What's going on?
Hey, man, I went over my head. I just thought I'd share. This is the kind of stuff that's out there. They're literally going to the level of...
What's offensive about the ridges?
It has to do with maybe... I thought of like the conquistadors would have the ridges versus not having the ridges or something. I don't know. I was like, it's literally to that level of detail. If you know who Clay Travis is, he's a kind of a sports guru on all this. He's big on Twitter and those kinds of things. He actually has whole things on this. And I'm like, okay, good for him. It's his area of expertise. What do you think, man? You been offended by food lately?
Well, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about this. It's not a big topic on my radar. However, I don't understand what's wrong with Uncle Ben, but Aunt Jemima, I kind of see it, the kerchief, the mammy appearance. So I kind of understand that. But for me, it's more like if these what these companies wanted to do just because they thought they needed to change this in this day and time, that's fine. My biggest concern with this is I hate seeing companies and corporations buckle to every single.
They think they're going to win. When you buckle and you bend on your knee, you're now on your knee. They're not going to stop beating on you because you're already on your knee. You don't get to be invited back up again. No one's going to ever forget Uncle Ben's. They're going to be like, yeah, but remember when you guys had the old guy on your box?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Aunt Jemima, you don't. Yeah, we're happy. It will actually not be. Wait, here's the next phase of this, in my opinion. They're going to roll out their logos. They will have to be very generic and benign, and then there'll be a whitewashing accusation or something. They have lost the entire heritage of it. They just want a different kind of look. They want a different type of incorporation. They want a, they'll want a black, gay, or trans spokesperson. They'll want something that brings it into 2020. So, who's next, man? What you got? Colonel Sanders? To me, Colonel Sanders was a no-brainer. Like, I don't know how Colonel Sanders hasn't been lopped already.
And what's his history, though?
No, just the fact that it looks like the old white on a totally, absolutely, like the whole little tie and everything like that. I love his story, but there's no way that's going to last a whole lot longer. They're going to have to ditch those.
Well, hopefully you didn't just trigger something.
Oh, it's coming. Rice Krispies are evidently part of this too. I guess somehow some crazy person in London mentioned that. She did an article. I don't know. You guys look it up. I don't even know. These people are just absolutely out of their minds. How do you get triggered by food and boxes? And
Snap is just wicked, man.
Have you ever looked at a box of food, cereal, or something and thought, oh?
Oh, no, never.
See, for me, I think Wheaties, because Wheaties used to have like sports folks on their boxes, and there were times where the person they would choose would kind of be so unappealing. I'd be like, ugh, I don't want to do with that box of cereal. I'll wait for the next person to flip.
I've never gotten to that point.
But I never like bought Wheaties or anything like that. So yeah, I think Colonel Sanders would be the next one for me. I'd be like, hey, he's and probably the actors, because they've rotated actors to play Colonel Sanders. So all of you guys, you need to be on like yellow alert. They're gonna come for you, because not only is Colonel Sanders offensive, but you played Colonel Sanders. So therefore, you, Jim Gaffigan, we're gonna come for you. You, Sean Astin, we're gonna come for you. This is how crazy they are. I think all this is absurd, and I'm with you. Don't buckle your knee.
No, you shouldn't. I mean, if you really, truly, as a corporation, think that's the right move, marketing-wise, to keep the business running, I'm all for that. But don't do it because of pressure. I can remember when I was much younger that Al Sharpton was doing something to Toyota, and Toyota just totally bended over backwards.
Sure.
I don't remember the details, but it was like, why? So I don't know. I think that's a shame, too, that some voices, whether it be on Twitter or anywhere else. That's what happened with AMC. I mean, has nothing to do with a logo or anything, but that goes back to the mask.
Yeah, they're pressured. Like it's the pressure of that
by Twitter.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, so I mean,
Twitter is a cesspool of anger and vitriol.
These people are just too weak. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, who owns Aunt Jemima? Quaker Oats? I don't know who owns it. Okay, they do. Yeah, I would say in 2020, it's probably not a bad...
Who Pepsi Cola owns Quaker Oats, who owns Aunt Jemima. So Pepsi.
Maybe it's not a bad idea to take the Mammy photograph. I think they altered the photograph over the years, too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Different models, stuff like that. Yeah.
So it's not the whole Mammy look anymore.
No, it's complete. And the commercials are completely different than like when I was even a kid, and you're older than me. These marketing campaigns and these presentations of this type of marketing has evolved so different now. We're also talking about it's just an image on a box. Most of the people that are probably outraged are too young to even remember the commercials and advertising that we're talking. I wonder if I can find. So there's a website. Here we go. Have some fun with this. So there's a website called archives.org. I'll put a link in the bottom if you're watching this. So I'm going to go there. And maybe before this and after this, I will see if I can find an old commercial that's in public domain. Because there's tons of these commercials that there's no licensing, or the advertising agency went out of business. It wasn't used. There's like a Toys R Us one I saw in there one time. There's old black and white PSAs. And a lot of these things are just really offensive. And not because they're really like culturally offensive like the topic we're talking about. Just like, are you trying to get me to buy that? Or are you trying to get me to make sure that I get rid of it out of my house? Like, things are just so badly done sometimes back then. It was just like, gosh, this was used to get people to buy something or get rid of it.
I thought, if I remember correctly, this is years and years ago, that Mrs. Butterworth, the bottle, would talk.
Yeah, it would come out and move and stuff. Yeah, that was the gimmick.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah, Pillsbury Doughboys were famous for these commercials. They were really entertaining, those kinds of things. So
Michelin Man.
Yeah, Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean. Yeah.
I guess he's still okay, right? An old white, bald head. He's got an earring, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that.
What about Brawny? How's Brawny making it? Brawny's got an old white with a big axe.
Big axe, flannel shirt.
Lumberjack, totally a Trump voter. Like, there's no doubt about Bounty. That oh, that's a meme. That is a meme waiting to happen. Is Brawny next?
Oh Lord.
Is Brawny next? Brawny or Colonel Sanders? That should be our. That's going to be FB. That's our thing right there. Is it Brawny or Colonel Sanders?
It's just a shame that this even has to be a topic.
What else is just insane from our younger years that just seems like it's hard to believe? Like Smokey the Bear kind of has just been phased out because that seemed like it was always like a weird, awkward approach.
Well, there used to be the Indian that would cry.
Oh, yeah.
When you could see like the pollution or whatever.
Yeah.
I was a kid when that was out.
Yeah, those were around for a while. That was brought up in one of those Wayne World movies too. They brought up there's a weird scene at the end where it's all dirty and there's like an Indian crying and then they're out there picking up the trash. And there was an allusion to that commercial, which went away. Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
We grew up in an era too where there were like cigarette commercials, right? So Marlboro, the famous Marlboro men's. There's several, but obviously cigarette commercials, they've gone to the way of the wind as well, and some of that kind of stuff. So I guess my thing is with all of this, I don't understand. Like, none of this is making your life any different. I told Laura today, I said we were talking about some of this stuff, and I said the irony is you fast forward a month, the removal of statues, the removal of Uncle Ben's, I don't understand what you people. There really is nothing that is beneficial to you in your life.
Well, it's just like anything else. I mean, you got to pick your battles. I'm not sure what this achieves.
It makes the cost of this stuff go up because people have to invest more money now in new marketing and new boxing and all this other stuff. So all the prices of these things, and now they're like quasi collectibles. Like there's stuff. I think we talked about movies, right? And Gone with the Wind was selling for like $100 on eBay for a few minutes. I think that's probably obviously stopped by now. People are like, oh yeah, it will be back in some way, shape, or form.
Well, they turned tail on that. Gone with the Wind is not banned anymore.
Well, it won't be banned. It's going to come back with some sort of introduction or disclaimer.
Yeah.
And there's a new list of films that need disclaimers. Have you heard about that list?
Other than Gone with the Wind, no.
Oh, no. Let me see if I have... Oh.
The list.
Maybe we should do this in another segment. What do you think? Movies that need a disclaimer according to the social justice warriors?
When we do pop culture, let's do it.
Okay, we're going to transition this into a pop culture segment on movies, which I got to be honest, these are really good movies.
Okay.
That are going to be on the watch list. They possibly could get banned or a disclaimer. So watch that.
I have no idea what this is.
All right, well then I'll put this right before we'll go into that next segment.
All right,
so there we go.